Hello, Markeedragon, also known as Marcus Iconberry in real life, and here is how to get your stuff hauled like a pro. So in Eve, there are three types of contracts. There are item exchange contracts, where you put stuff into a contract and you ask a ISK amount to sell the stuff. There are auction contracts, which is very similar, except you start a minimum bid and people bid it up. And then there are courier contracts, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So in courier contracts, this is how you get your stuff hauled from point A to point B. And so I'm going to try and go over most of the stuff here, how to create a contract, kind of some good practices, how much do you figure out that you have to pay, and stuff like that. So let's start out with, I've got all these blueprints, and I need them hauled to JITA. I don't know, 16 jumps out of JITA, something like that. I am all in high sec, and so that's going to be a plus. But I'm going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this contract and pay to have it hauled. So now the first question is like, what's the maximum number of items that you can put in a contract? The magic number, 500. So if you have more than 500 items, then you are going to have to break it up into a couple of contracts regardless of the size. So now also there are some rules about having stuff hauled in high sec, and let me just go over those briefly. Now these are maybe not rules, maybe they're more of guidelines. It won't stop you from getting stuff hauled, but you'll be more successful with it. Magic number 1, 60,000 cubic meters. That is the size that a DST can hold, a deep space transport ship. And these are the most common type of haulers used in high sec. Now you say, but what are freighters for? Well, freighters are for bigger stuff. But one of the nice things about a deep space transport is that you can put a lot higher value in it with a lot lower risk. I commonly run trips with 3 or 4 billion in one of these, and I don't really bat an eyelash about it, because even if somebody tries to gank me, there's some good videos out there, people trying to gank me, then I have really good survivability. So now in a freighter, if I was to put the same amount in, I'd instantly become a target. And it has to do with, like, this right here, this aquator can get 449,000 DHP, whereas with a freighter, if I make it really slow and everything, I can get into the 300,000 range on EHP, somewhere between 300,000 and 400,000. But it's very slow. It's really susceptible to getting bumped on gates and them taking the time to amass a fleet to gank you. So, magic number 1, 60,000 cubic meters. And so that's kind of what you want to break everything out into if you can. Now, if you have stuff like, materials like titanium, and, you want to, ship that someplace. Well, here's the issue. Is it like a freighter fully expanded out can hold like 1.1 million cubic meters, and but it's very vulnerable when it's expanded out that way. And you're really only getting, what, 400,000 or 500,000 worth of materials in it, or 400, 500 million worth. And so what are you going to pay to have that hauled? I mean, it's. Now, in a freighter size, I recommend no more than 500,000 cubic meters. And that is so that a freighter can still have some tank and do the movement. If you want to be even more successful, you'll keep it down to 350,000 cubic meters. And that way the freighter can put in like bulkheads or whatever. It makes them slow as all get out, but they'll have a lot more EHP and maybe they'll feel better about it. I don't know, So anyway, for the purposes of doing some contracts today, we're going to go over, do a few of them, and so here we go. All right, so what I've done is I've got a container here. This container has all kinds of stuff in it. Like a lot of stuff in it, 14.5 billion worth of stuff in it. 585 items. It's a lot of stuff. I gotta, I'm tired of doing the trip myself. I'm gonna pay others to do it. All right. But you can't just create a contract out of a container easily, and you never ship containers. You will get blacklisted, essentially, or you're going to get yelled at the very minimum, for shipping stuff inside containers. Because the haulers sometimes like to use obfuscation for their hauling practices, which means that they take the contract and then they contract it to another character that they own, and that character runs it so that if it's a gank contract, which a lot of people are worried about, if it's a gank contract, then the person who put the contract in originally as a gank contract, which you're just putting in normal contracts, but they don't know that. They don't know who you are. And so they then will repackage it again and give it over to somebody else. But if it already has a container in it, they can't do that. And so it makes people very nervous, and they will just put you on the avoid list. You want to get your stuff hauled? Don't put it in containers. Okay, so now there is this limit of 500 items, and I'm going to hit a pretty good limit here. I'm going to select all and then take this out. And this says that this is worth 1.163 billion. Okay, now what you want to do when you make a contract is that you do want to appropriately value this stuff. And now on stuff like blueprints here that have been trained, well, they can actually be worth 4 times as much. And so it becomes an issue when they're worth this much more, that you need to protect that value. So what I'm talking about here is the collateral that someone's going to have to put up. So I am actually going to put this at about 4 billion on the collateral, and then and if you undervalue it, some unscrupulous haulers will say, "Oh, this is 4 billion worth of stuff. They only put 1 billion value on it. I just won't run it, and I'm going to keep the stuff for myself, and I'm going to gain 3 billion in profit." Remember, this is Eve. That shit happens all the time. So don't trust people in the game. In real life, you would expect that the trucking company would be honorable, not do that. If they did, they'd get a very bad reputation. People in game, they don't care about their reputation. Not like that. Not typically. So we're going to create this contract. I just right-clicked on one of the items after selecting all but that container. And now we're going to select Courier. We're going to leave it public. It's not going to be under my corp or alliance. And so here we go. We got 478 items, 654 cubic meters. It's pretty small, meaning that a smaller ship can run this. But we're going to put a value on it of 4 billion. And so, all right, collateral 4. There's 4 billion. I usually give expiration of 4 weeks, and then days to complete. If I'm not in a hurry for it, I will give 2 days to complete. And the reason for that is that haulers really should, same day they accept, they should be delivering it. It's just really good practice, because haulers forget that they have a contract going, and then all of a sudden they've failed it, and oh my God, that's a huge problem. So now we're going to ship it to Jita, and let's see here. We're going to go to Jita 44 Caldari Navy Assembly. And that'll autofill the next time you put something in. Now, for the reward, okay, so we're doing 15 jumps. It's at a 4 billion valuation. And it's pretty small, meaning a small ship can run it. But the typical is that pretty much no matter what you're sending, is that you do 1 billion ISK per jump per billion. So in this case, 15 jumps, if it was worth 1 billion, would be 15 million I would pay. But because it's 4 billion, I'm going to pay 60 million. So, and that pays 4 million ISK per jump. So there we go. All right. You can put notes in if you want. I have found that notes don't really matter. I actually look at stuff more suspect when it has notes on it. You know, I could put in something like just moving, and because that's what I'm doing, I'm moving, and so then I click next. There's going to be some fees with this, so it's going to go to the public. Collateral, I'm asking them to put up 4 billion ISK, meaning if they blow up along the way, that when if they lose the load or whatnot, then I will get paid 4 billion ISK in replacement of my items. I do not want to have to do the training on all of these. It's actually worth more than that to me because of all the time spent on these. But you know, this is my personal formula, at least on blueprints. All right, so, and it's coming from this station here. You will have much greater success sending from and to NPC stations. So if you, people still won't pick up stuff as much because of the warnings on them when it is a player-owned station. And now if it is a player-owned station as a pickup point, what will happen is that a freighter hauler is going to want to dock there first and make sure they can dock before they accept it. And that's kind of typical, except they're not going to go way out of their way to do that. They're only going to do that if they happen to be in the area. So, got to pay attention to that. So, this stuff is all in an NPC station. It's all going to an NPC station, and I will have much more success in getting it hauled that way. All right, so I'm going to click Finish on this. Yes, I really want to create the contract. So, I put up both a fee for placing the contract, but then I also put up the collateral. I believe goes into the system. It just takes it out of my bank balance, and now it's creating it. This one's huge, so it's got a bit of lag in putting it all together. Now I'd like to introduce you to the Haulers channel, just simply called Haulers channel, and the Haulers channel is a great group for getting stuff moved. Now that I have this done up here, I will just put a link in there. This being the Haulers channel right here, and I'm just going to put it in here, and I'm going to put 15 jumps pays 60M. All right, so I'm just putting a little note in there so that maybe I can entice somebody to click on it. All right, so there we go. I have typed that in, put that in there, and now we'll see see if somebody picks it up. So as soon as somebody picks it up, I will get a little notification here in the lower right, and then, you know, continue on. I can click on this. Oh, somebody's accepted the contract. All right, so this video is not going to publish until after this contract is run. And so I'm not too worried about exposing this information, but once it's been accepted, you can click on it again and you can see who has accepted it. So here's this person, Alma, and they are, let's see here, they're actually not very old. They're, you know, half a year old, maybe almost a year old. And so you can also see what contracts that they've run, and you can show contracts here. So here is a bunch of contracts. This person is a professional hauler. It's not just somebody who's in the area who's looking to pay for a trip. This person is a professional hauler, and they are moving stuff all over the place. It looks like, if you look at the sizes of most of these are DST size, under the 60,000 cubic meters. The reason you do 60,000 cubic meters instead of 62,500, which is the maximum in there, is because it's a lot more likely that people have a level 4 on the DST as opposed to level 5. Because, you know, level 5 takes another 30 days. So you just have more success there again if you keep the sizes smaller on that. All right, so this person runs a lot of contracts. And, yeah, so, you know, good for them. They're going to make good money on this. And so I'm happy that they are taking that. All right, so now I'm going to do something a little bit different here. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to take the rest of these blueprints out, and we're going to make another contract for these. They can actually pick up multiple of these contracts at the same time. We'll see here. We're going to put all of that in there. I got to take this one abyssal thing out, I think. I don't know. We'll see what size it makes it up to be. It makes it 24. It's fine. All right, so we're going to select this whole thing. That abyssal module, I don't know if that's junk or what. So 788,000. So we're going to look at another 3 billion on this. We're going to create another contract. And it's going to be Courier again. Going to select all this. Now you notice that I took everything out of that container and I dumped it into the main area here, and then I was kind of using that for measurement of everything. So, and given that this is so expensive, I want to keep the volumes really low so that people can run this in smaller ships that are not normal, but stuff that's really fast. So, okay, this is going to Jita. I told you this would autofill. It did. All right, so the collateral on this is going to be 3 billion. So there's 3 billion. All right, so 15 jumps. So we're going to be looking at 45 million. And, you know, we're paying a lot, but this is worth a lot too. So, you know. All right. Creating that. And if you make mistakes on here, people will exploit you. Like if you put the reward against the collateral and put them in the wrong stuff, somebody says, oh, I got to put up 45 million to get 3 billion for a payout. They'd be like, holy shit, yeah. You know, I would be thinking that too. So, all right. That all looks proper. Now we're going to get into bigger stuff. So, we'll get this one done. I'm going to post this next one here. And very likely the same person will pick it up. You can't, while I have a limit of 500 items for this, you can pick up as many packages as you want. You just couldn't do more than 500 of them or 1,000 of them or something like that at one time. So here we go again. And then this is 15 jumps, 45 in pay. And there we go. I think someone else will take that one as well. Maybe even the same person. For myself, I probably would. It's a lot. 7 billion though in value is a lot. But when you look at it and the scanned value on it is going to be, you know, under 2 billion or whatever. So it's really not that worrisome when you are someone's accepted it. And someone else got this one. All right. So now, here's what I want to do. I want to start figuring out getting stuff that is, you know, I want to get this shit moved. And I want to pay appropriately for it and everything. So now I've got this 2.21 million of the nitrogen isotopes worth 1.944 billion. And the problem is it's 66,000. So let's take 2 million of them over. And There they are. All right, so we're going to look in there. We're going to see what the size is. There we go, 60,000 on the button, and it's worth 1.75 billion. So we're going to be looking at 2 billion. You want to try and stay within 10% of the value, like 10% over. That is kind of the target goal that people are comfortable with, but you can value it higher if you want. Some of the stuff that's really hard to acquire but might have a low value, I typically will do above 10%, but not all the time. All right, so we're going to create a contract here. It's going to be public again. It's going to be Courier, and then just click next. Since we already pre-selected it, we don't have to select. We don't have to find it in here. So 60,000. All right, go into JITA. And this is going to be 15 jumps. We're going to value it at 2 billion. So I like how this little pops up, says 2 billion there. All right, and so we're going to pay 30 million to have it moved. So 2 million ISK per jump, and going to select next there. Next, really create the contract. Yes. And all right, so you got a chance to look everything over. If for some reason you did something wrong, you can hit delete really quick before anybody notices. There are some people who monitor the contracts going out, and they sit there, refresh. Ooh, looks good, grab it. And there's some really high-paying contracts out there, and people do that all the time. So, all right. This one here, 60,000 cubic meters, 15 jumps, and this is 30 million pay. There we go. So put that one up there. All right, let's do a freighter size contract now. And so this is 260,000 here, and that is 1.7 billion. Let's get just a little bit here. Let's see, 1 billion. How heavy is that? 50,000, 50,000. Let's see. Let's look for. Here we go. So now let's see. What is the size on that? 260,000. So we're going to bring that up to. We're going to bring that up to 500,000. So somebody's accepted this other one. All right, so I'm just going to dump this whole thing out here. And then here we've got 1.19. Oof, that's a lot. All right, so we're going to dump some back in here. And it's 120 million. So we're going to dump 60 million back in. And then I look at both of these here, still 859,000, that's too much. So we got to dump another 30 million in. And we're at 559. All right, so let's take another 9 million. Okay, where are we at here? We're at 469,000, and it's worth 1.8 billion. Okay, so we're gonna make a freighter contract out of this. I would never put more than about 2 billion in a freighter, and I do that because someone's at my door. All right. Housekeeper. Sorry. Okay, now. So I'm going to put this in 2 billion value and freighter size. I don't know. It's going to take a long time. It's going to take longer for somebody to want to run this because this is a long way out. We're all the way out at the edge of the universe, well, in high-sec terms at least. All right, so creating a contract. And it's going to be Courier. It's going to be public. And so 469,000 cubic meters. I'm keeping it under the 500,000. I'm going to value it at about 2 billion. Yes, large cargo warning. It's going to JITA. And so collateral 2 billion. Reward 30 million. Okay, I'm just putting it as materials. And so now it will take longer to get somebody to accept this. It just will. People don't want to fly freighters this far typically, and they don't want to have more than about 1.5, 2 billion at the max. So just kind of a normal thing. But there we go. So I've got another basically 500,000 worth of stuff going out there, and so we're gonna put this one out there as well. Gonna put it as 15 jumps, 30 million pay, and it's a big one, so big in size. I do not expect that someone will pick it up right away. I'll be kind of surprised if somebody does. So, all right, that is doing the contracts. Now they have 2 days on each one of these. If they fail, they have 2 days to hit the failure button. If it gets beyond there, then you can fail it. And if they get blown up along the way, they get caught by a gank or something like that, you get paid that money, you lose all the product, and that's just the way it works. So value it appropriately, use the haulers channel, ask questions in the haulers channel if you've got questions and such, and use them as a resource. You can just post the contracts and just not even talk in the haulers channel. It's not necessary, but you'll get your stuff moved a lot quicker if you do, and they're a great resource for information. Hope that helps you get your ship moved. I'm Markeedragon. Take care.